I I hate streaming too fast. So listen, we know in this channel I spent 3 years online in this channel trying to understand beliefs. If you literally go back, those were the first videos I ever made. Before that, I spent years understanding how beliefs work and all that stuff, which is why I started the YouTube channel in the first place. I understood something which is so simple. It's almost insulting to the work I did. Hear me out. If our goal is to change a belief in the fastest time possible with the least amount of effort without much complications in it, and if we use that method, is that better compared to using another method which is more intensive? It's a much more of hard work and you're putting a lot of things in it. I love understanding both sides, so uh, anything I'm game. But what I realized is this: changing beliefs is not a problem for the rational part of mind. So if you guys don't know, there are two sides of our mind, not like left brain, right brain. There's like two parts of the brain that has different qualities to it. Like the rational mind is logical, analytical, right? It's much more. It analyzes stuff. I'm a very rational person, right? On the other hand, you have the left hand side, which is much more imaginative, artistic, which is much more ethereal, is much more imagination basically. It is not changing beliefs is not a problem for the rational mind. The kind of analogy that's coming to my mind, it's basically uh, logical mind is like a bad person to give the job to if our goal is to change the beliefs. Does that make sense? What I'm really trying to say is, if you wanted to build a house but you call a doctor, can he build the house? Probably. But would he do a good job in it? Probably not, unless he does part-time carpentry. Similarly, the rational mind isn't equipped. It's not like it isn't equipped. It isn't equipped to solve the problem completely. Because to use your rational mind to change your beliefs, you have to first develop the skill of mindfulness, becoming mindful of the thoughts and the emotions, then become mindful of the content of the thoughts, and then realize how this content of the thoughts is not true. And then when you realize the content of the thoughts not true and you act anyway, then another thought will come up which is like a deeper sense of belief which will come to stop you. Then you have to do the same process again with that, and then you keep doing till you have an understanding of why you messed up. But the real question is, even though we have a good understanding of why we did something wrong, are we still making the same mistake or not? I think in the end is the real question. Are we still making and and in my case, it is. The biggest thing I'm coming to realize is imagination is an amazing tool to use when our goal is to change a belief. Now there are certain rules to use the imagination, which I'm gonna like talk very soon. One of them is to first of all activate your imagination. You might think, Prem, what I'm believing is real and what my imagination is not real. So how could I use my imagination to replace something that is real? It's a very good question. However, notice this: when you develop the skill of mindfulness, watch this. When you develop the skill of mindfulness, you realize one thing: all the thoughts, all the fear, all the anxiety, and all that stuff, it's happening because you believe something in future will happen now. Wait, 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 wait. Wait, wait, wait. Don't leave yet. Hold on. Listen, okay? So, let's say I believe something, let's say I'm afraid of something. I'm afraid, okay? I'm afraid because there's something that might happen in future and it might happen to me. So I'm afraid now. Okay? However, notice this: that is happening in the realm of imagination. You notice that it's happening in the realm of imagination. You're using imagination to believe something might happen in the future based on your memories or your past experiences. Using that data, you're kind of like forecasting in the future using imagination to then believe that something might happen in the future. Now, whether that thing is going to happen or not doesn't matter. The only question is this, and the fact of the matter is this: this thing is happening in imagination, fact number one. And the question that we have to ask here regarding this fact is this: how much does this fact serve me? And the thing to notice, I feel, in my own experience, as I was thinking, how much does it serve me? Honestly, it does serve me. It does serve me to the extent of me being more mindful of what I shouldn't do. But that's about it. That's about it. To become more mindful of what I shouldn't do. That's about it. That's the amount of information it gives me. However, I think there is more going on with that kind of dynamics in the realm of imagination than just that. I think we try to like get more information from that. I think this is the necessary amount of information that we should get. However, I think we try to like almost shoot ourselves in the foot. I think it's an American term. Shoot ourselves in the foot to the point where you're now aware that something is going to go wrong and there's nothing you can do about it. That place doesn't serve us. And I think this is why using imagination to break this cycle would really help. I'm slowly understanding like the woo woo culture of the society where they use white light or like yellow healing light, or anytime I look at movies, trailers, art. I went to an art gallery today. It was pretty good, and I was walking around this art galleries, and I'm like seeing all different arts. I'm seeing like watercolor paintings, the realism, the super abstract ones. There are like glass, the glass blowing painting, glass pen or whatever. All these are like products of imagination, and I'm realizing how powerful imagination is, because like imagination is almost like an autopilot. You tell it what you want and it kind of like does it for you without going through the rational process of becoming mindful of the thoughts, then this, then that, blah, blah. All you need to do is like trust, use your imagination to. Now this is a tricky part, right? I feel because I'm a rational person. How what kind of visualization excites you the most in this situation where you get anxiety, or I don't know, a fear based response, or you have like an intense resistance or attraction or aversion to it? What kind of imagination does does it excite you to use, which activates that part of you? I think imagination also connects to the feeling part of ourself much more directly than the rational part could, which is why I feel the reason this is why reasons which is why I feel using your imagination is much more better compared to your rational part of your mind. Because in the end of the day, you're you have a bias towards reality, which is why you're getting the fear based impulses arising within us. And the biases are more emotional in nature. We often do not know why we believe something. It past, someone said it, authority figure, blah blah blah. You could have all the reasons, right? But it's a much more feeling based decision. It, in my head, it's like it's a mix of both. It's like a double helix of thinking and feeling. But I think feeling is like a I wouldn't say deeper. This is where I would disagree with the conventional thing. It's a much more higher order uh, phenomenon that's happening. Because people think we're like digging deeper. No, it's like once you become conscious, at least in my experience, once you become conscious of the thoughts, you start realizing that all the thoughts are kind of like are kind of like a product of a feeling. Not like a feeling is arising thoughts. It's more like once there are like thoughts, above it there are feelings, and above it there are beliefs. Gotcha. So once you become aware of the thoughts, then you slowly understand the context of the feelings. You slowly understand the context. If the thoughts are the content, you'll understand the context, which is usually like emotional. And if you understand the context, and you understand like the biases you have and the definitions you kind of believe in, which is the beliefs. So when you're using imagination, it kind of exercises the part of our mind which is more feeling based, which is why it would have a much more direct effect on your identity compared to using the rational part of your mind. If you're artistic in nature, that is. So to motivate yourself using imagination, what kind of imagination can you visualize? So here's a couple that I have been using that work for me. When I imagine something pure white, this is what I imagine. So imagine like this pure white, almost like a space white. You know how they show it in movies, like when you're like transitioning from like one environment to another in like a space. Imagine the screen just goes completely white, like full on white, pure white. Okay. Any thought that doesn't serve you, it's like a grayish color on this white, pure blasting white of screen in your mind. Any thought that doesn't serve you is like a grayish, like a stain almost. Now imagine being the white light being so powerful that the gray spot kind of becomes gray, becomes white. So it's more like I watch a lot of animes. So there's a scene where a huge white light comes, and the villains usually like kind of like disappear. Something like that is what I imagine. So anything that arises, I first see, okay, what can I learn from this? What is it trying to say me? Then I get it. And then I'm like, okay, now I need to use my imagination to blast out. And I just so you might be thinking, Prem, how how is me imagining? Okay, how is me imagining a white light blasting off this gray spot, and that actually having an impact on my identity? Would actually have an impact on my identity. How is me imagining that would have an impact on my identity? Here's the thing: you trust the other part of you that created this identity in the first place to kind of like redo it. So this is where it's the toughest letting go process, but it's also the easiest, because you're kind of placing the trust on some other aspect of yourself that kind of was responsible in the first place to create all these beliefs. It's not like you manually created them. It's kind of, it almost feels like you happen to have them. And even the, like, even my hands, when I do this, I don't exactly know what I'm doing to cause this. For me, it's almost like I'm giving a command and I can do this. I can just do it. Right? So there's a part of our mind that kind of coordinates all of this. Trust that. Since a part of you can already do it. So you don't have to do anything. You just have to be like the CEO of your body. You don't have to be the employee. Okay. So how, so you're thinking, okay, me imagining this, how does it have an impact on my identity? It will have an impact on your identity, because there's a part of you that will interpret this, and it will interpret your intention and interpret the visualization, and then correct all these beliefs and underlying belief, blah 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 blah, blah, whatever, to then see, then to then have an actual effect on your identity. And how would I know whether it have actual effect on my identity? You would know it because initially your actions won't be different, but your perspective on something would first be different, and then on top of that, you'll start acting differently. The kind of resistance you are having would kind of starts dissolving. And this is I think the bigger appeal of all these like light workers or whatever, like all these like people who are into like this more woo woo side of the spiritual stuff. Yeah. Another thing that helps me is I listen to music. So you have to understand one thing about me. I like animes and I like Japanese music. That's me. You might like other sorts of filmmaking or animation or whatever, but I think any sorts of art like film, media, entertainment, music, all of them is a way to exercise your imagination to creatively let go. And it's like two in one process, because you're not only exercising your imagination, but you're using it to let go. But then you could go one step further and use it to create, which is I think an aspect I'm exploring more now. So I don't have that much information on that, but trusting a part of you that trusting a part of you that would do stuff for you. So how do you command that part of you? Is you command it using your imagination. So following me. So you have your ego, you have this awareness, you have like this consciousness of I self, and then you have like this other side that is doing all the automaton stuff. Automaton. Doing all the body stuff, like heart, breathing, whatever. And you have like another part of you that's kind of like taking care of all this control, locomotion, and creating beliefs, and the more conscious part of you that's taking care of more complex stuff in the background. We are just here chilling. Most people. Um, so so there's a part of you that does do all this. So how do you command that? It's you command it using imagination. You guys following me? It's simple. So what kind of imagination do I do, Prem? Whichever one excites you, do that. Simple. If you are like, Prem, I don't like this white screen, can I make it pink? Yeah, you can. Can I make it orange? Yeah, you can. Can I make it like dirty green? No, I'm just kidding. You can. Um, so using imagination to command rather than using a rational process to do it yourself is the new approach of letting go. So the question isn't how. Of course, you use self inquiry to a certain extent, but then you can like also like you could do a little bit of self inquiry, right? Becoming conscious of the thoughts, belief, and then once you like identified, oh, okay, this is why I'm doing this. Okay, time to dissolve. Okay, imagination, big white screen, and every time this belief pops up, listen, a part of my mind, dissolve. I don't know about you guys, but I discovered something about my body. And discover I in my school days, I always used to study one night before the exam, of course. And every time I used to be like a lot of anxious, right? So I really tell myself before sleeping, man, God, whatever, just wake me up tomorrow at this time. And I set all the alarms necessary. And always, I wake up like 5 minutes before the alarm actually rings. Always. I wake up like 5 minutes. So to test this idea that I can trust, to build trust on my body and to build trust on parts of my mind I am not aware of, but I kind of like intuit that it exists, is I kind of tell my body before sleeping, okay, body, yo, yo, listen, wake me up at 3 a.m. Wake me up at 3 a.m. and we'll see where, please, you know, and it does, and it does, or it does very close to it. And I like it because even if I woke up a little bit late, it gives me enough sleep to function, rather than me waking up exactly at 3 a.m. and me being like dysfunctional for the next 4 hours, because I'm like a zombie, and I fall asleep anyway. But mostly my body wakes me up before 3 if I get enough rest, but like 1 hour after if I have like no rest, like if I have 3 hours of sleep or something like that. This is new grounds, guys. For me, this is new grounds for a rational guy who wanted to understand the entire mechanism and to have control over the entire chain of process. In that pursuit, I lost control, which is paradoxical. In the pursuit of understanding everything rationally, I just I just didn't understand everything, and it actually I shot myself in the foot because I did all this. It's crazy, but that's it, guys, for this video. Is it the final chapter? I don't know. Like, subscribe, and share. Let's see where this goes.